The Thanksgiving dinner plates clinked softly as I dried them in Madison's pristine granite kitchen, listening to her animated voice carry from the dining room. My daughter was regaling the family with stories about her latest promotion to Vice President of Marketing at Technocore Solutions. When I quietly mentioned helping organize community fundraisers, she cut through my words like a blade. Stop pretending. You will never be important. Some people are just born to be invisible. The crystal glass slipped from my trembling fingers. Every relative at that mahogany table fell silent. Her husband, James, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Cousin Beth suddenly found her wine fascinating. Uncle Robert cleared his throat awkwardly. I forced my lips into a weak smile, whispered "excuse me," and stepped onto the back deck. The November air bit my cheeks as tears finally escaped. Standing on that cold deck, I thought about how wrong Madison was about my life. She had no idea that 25 years ago, after her father left us when she was 8, I had built something from nothing in the events industry. Those early days were brutal. I was 35, newly divorced, working double shifts in hotel catering just to keep our small apartment. But I noticed things others missed. Wedding coordinators arriving late, forgetting crucial details, treating vendors poorly, corporate meetings falling apart because nobody understood logistics. I started studying at the public library, checking out books on project management, hospitality, and business development. Late nights after Madison went to bed, I took online courses in event planning, design, and vendor relations. My dining table became my office, covered with vendor catalogs, budget spreadsheets, and timeline charts. The first event I coordinated was a charity auction for Madison's elementary school. 50 people, modest budget, local gymnasium, but I treated it like the Met Gala, every detail perfect, every timeline precise, every volunteer trained thoroughly. The fundraiser exceeded expectations by 300%. Word spread through our suburban community. Soon I was organizing anniversary parties, retirement celebrations, and small corporate retreats. Each success built my confidence and my contact list. I registered Meridian Events as an LLC, working from our converted spare bedroom. Madison always seemed embarrassed when friends asked about my work. She would mumble something about party planning and quickly change subjects. As she grew older, entering high school then college, her embarrassment deepened. She wanted a mother who wore business suits to corner offices, not someone who spent weekends setting up balloon arches and coordinating catering deliveries. During her freshman year at State University, she told friends her mother worked in hospitality management and left details deliberately vague. But while Madison was building her academic credentials, I was building something she never bothered to understand. Local success led to regional opportunities. Regional opportunities opened doors to national conferences. Each event taught me something new about crisis management, cultural sensitivity, and high-stakes logistics. The breakthrough came during my 40th birthday year. A pharmaceutical company needed someone to coordinate their annual investor meeting after their regular planner suffered a family emergency. 200 attendees, international speakers, FDA officials present. The event director was desperate, willing to take a chance on someone with my growing reputation. That conference changed everything. My attention to detail, ability to manage complex schedules, and calm demeanor under pressure impressed executives who worked with major event planning firms. They started referring colleagues to Meridian Events. Soon I was coordinating product launches, trade show exhibitions, and executive retreats across the Midwest. Madison graduated college with a marketing degree, landed her entry-level position at a tech startup, and moved to her own apartment. She rarely asked about my work anymore, assuming it remained small-scale party planning. When she brought boyfriends home for dinner, she would quickly steer conversations away from my career toward her own professional accomplishments. The irony was heartbreaking. While she climbed corporate ladders, I was building relationships with Fortune 500 companies, coordinating events for thousands of attendees, managing budgets that exceeded her annual salary. But I never corrected her assumptions. Some part of me hoped she would eventually notice, eventually ask, eventually show interest in what her mother had built from scratch. Instead, her embarrassment only grew stronger as her own career advanced. Every promotion, every professional milestone seemed to widen the gap between what she thought I did and what I actually accomplished. The woman who had raised her, supported her education, and quietly celebrated her every success had become invisible in her ambitious young eyes. That Thanksgiving night, staring at the stars through her perfectly manicured backyard, I realized something had to change. The phone in my pocket buzzed with an email notification. The subject line made my heart race. Global Innovation Summit Contract Decision. The next morning, I drove home to my modest ranch house and walked directly to my home office. Madison had only been inside this room once in the past 5 years, during a brief visit where she glanced at my desk and made a comment about all those wedding planning folders. If she had looked closer, she would have seen contracts with major corporations, international vendor agreements, and project timelines for events across 3 time zones. My office walls displayed certificates from the International Association of Event Planners, Convention Industry Council credentials, and photos from conferences most people only read about in business magazines. The custom-built desk held 3 monitors, a professional conference phone system, and filing cabinets organized with military precision. That morning, I opened the email that had arrived during Madison's humiliating speech. The Global Innovation Summit Committee had chosen Meridian Events to coordinate their annual conference. 3,000 attendees, including CEOs from Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, and Google. Government officials from 5 countries. Media coverage on 3 continents. The largest technology conference in the Western United States. I had submitted my proposal 6 months earlier, competing against event planning giants like Freeman, GES, and Maritz Global Events. My presentation included detailed logistics for managing international speakers, security protocols for high-profile executives, and contingency plans for everything from natural disasters to cybersecurity threats. The contract value exceeded $2.5 million. More money than Madison earned in 3 years. More visibility than she had ever imagined possible in the events industry. While I celebrated quietly at my kitchen table, my phone rang. Madison's name appeared on the caller ID. "Mom, I wanted to apologize about yesterday," she began, though her tone carried more obligation than genuine remorse. "I was stressed about work, and maybe I came across too harshly." "It's perfectly fine, sweetheart," I replied, watching the Global Innovation Summit contract load on my printer. "I know you enjoy your little event planning hobby, and that's wonderful for you. Actually, my company is sending me to this huge tech conference next month, the Global Innovation Summit. It's supposed to be incredibly well organized, though I can't imagine what they're paying the event coordinator, probably some big fancy firm from Los Angeles or New York." My heart pounded as I held the contract bearing my signature and company logo. "That sounds exciting, Madison. I'm sure it will be beautifully coordinated. Honestly, I'm nervous. 3,000 people, all the industry leaders will be there. My presentation needs to be perfect. Technocore is spending a fortune on our booth space and sponsorship package. If anything goes wrong with the event logistics, it could reflect poorly on all the companies involved." The irony was suffocating. My own daughter was worried about an event I would be orchestrating, trusting her professional future to capabilities she believed I didn't possess. "Would you like some advice about presenting at large conferences?" I offered carefully. "From you? Mom, no offense, but setting up church fundraisers is a little different from major industry events. But thanks, anyway." After she hung up, I sat in my office, surrounded by vendor contracts, speaker agreements, and security protocols for the event that would determine her professional future. The woman she believed was invisible would be making every decision that affected her comfort, success, and safety at the most important conference of her career. 3 days later, Madison visited unexpectedly while I was on a conference call with the Berlin office of our audio-visual contractor. She let herself in with her spare key and found me at my desk, surrounded by international vendor quotes and timeline spreadsheets. "Sorry, Wilhelm, let me call you back in 30 minutes to finalize those satellite connection requirements," I said into my headset before hanging up. "Mom, who was that?" Madison asked, settling into my guest chair without invitation. "Just coordinating some technical equipment for an upcoming event," I replied, minimizing the summit planning software on my main monitor. She glanced around the office with the same dismissive expression she had worn since college. "Wow, you're really going all out for weddings these days. International vendors? That seems like overkill for local ceremonies." I let her assumptions stand uncorrected, as I had done countless times before. Different events have different requirements. Her phone buzzed with a text message. "Oh, that's my colleague Derek from the marketing team. He's picking me up for lunch. Do you mind if he comes in to use the restroom quickly?" Derek knocked on the front door 5 minutes later. Tall, immaculately dressed, carrying himself with the casual arrogance of young corporate success. Madison introduced us briefly before pointing him toward the bathroom. While waiting, his eyes wandered around my office. "Nice setup you have here, Mrs. Whitfield," he said politely but condescendingly. "Madison mentioned you do event coordination? Mostly local stuff? Various types of events?" I answered diplomatically. "That's wonderful. It must be nice to stay busy with small community gatherings. Very rewarding work, I'm sure." The phone rang again. My assistant's voice came through the speaker. "Karina, I have the Japanese delegation coordinator on line 2. They need to discuss dietary restrictions for the VIP reception, and the translator wants to confirm arrival protocols." I glanced at Madison and Derek, both listening with curious expressions. "Please tell them I'll call back this afternoon with those details." Derek raised his eyebrows. "Japanese delegates? That sounds intriguing." Madison laughed. "Mom probably has some local cultural center asking about sushi for their fundraising dinner. You know how these community organizations try to sound important." The dismissal in her voice cut deeper than her Thanksgiving words. Here was my own daughter, explaining away my professional capabilities to impress a colleague who already looked down on what he assumed was my small-time operation. After they left for lunch, I returned to my conference call with Wilhelm in Berlin. We spent an hour coordinating satellite feeds, backup power systems, and real-time translation services for speakers presenting from 4 different continents. The technical complexity would challenge any event planner in the world, yet my own daughter believed I was arranging church potlucks and anniversary parties. That evening, my phone rang with the call that would change everything. The Global Innovation Summit Committee had officially approved my final proposal. Meridian Events would be the sole coordinator for the most prestigious technology conference in the Western Hemisphere. I signed the contract at my kitchen table, while Madison's words echoed in my memory. Some people are just born to be invisible. The 6 weeks following contract signing transformed my quiet home into mission control. for one of the technology industry's most anticipated events. Every morning brought new challenges that would have overwhelmed most event coordinators, but felt like energizing puzzles to solve. International speaker coordination alone required expertise Madison never imagined I possessed. The keynote presenter was flying from Tokyo, requiring visa documentation, security clearance verification, and dietary accommodations for severe allergies. The panel on artificial intelligence included executives from 3 different continents, each with specific technical requirements for their presentations. My vendor network spanned 12 countries. Audio-visual equipment was being shipped from Germany, catering supplies sourced from organic farms in California's Central Valley, and security personnel recruited from firms that protected presidential campaigns. Each relationship had been cultivated over years of delivering exceptional results and maintaining absolute professionalism. The budget exceeded what most people earned in a lifetime, but every dollar was allocated with surgical precision. Contingency funds for weather emergencies, backup systems for technology failures, and crisis management protocols for everything from medical emergencies to international incidents. The responsibility was staggering and exhilarating. Madison called frequently during those preparation weeks, updating me on her excitement and anxiety about the summit. Her company had invested heavily in their sponsorship package, hoping to attract new clients and establish partnerships with major technology firms. She described Technocore's elaborate booth design, her carefully rehearsed presentation, and the networking opportunities that could advance her career significantly. The event coordinator must be incredibly experienced to handle something this complex, she mused during one conversation. I've heard rumors it's some hotshot firm from New York or Chicago. Probably costs a fortune, but everyone says this conference is always flawlessly organized. I listened while reviewing security protocols for protecting corporate executives worth billions of dollars. Organization is definitely important for large events, I agreed mildly. My presentation is scheduled for the second day, right after the morning keynote. I'm terrified something will go wrong with the audio-visual system or the timing will get messed up. You know how these big events can be chaotic if they're not managed properly. The irony was overwhelming. Madison was trusting her professional future to capabilities she refused to see in her own mother. The audio-visual systems she worried about were being installed under my direct supervision. The timing she feared would be disrupted was being managed by software I had customized specifically for this event. Would it help to practice your presentation one more time? I offered. Sometimes talking through logistics can reduce anxiety. She laughed affectionately, but dismissively. Mom, you're sweet, but I don't think planning church picnics really prepares someone for understanding corporate conference dynamics. But I appreciate the thought. 3 weeks before the summit, a crisis emerged that tested every skill I had developed over 2 decades in event coordination. The primary venue's air conditioning system suffered a catastrophic failure, threatening to force cancellation of indoor sessions during unseasonably warm weather. The repair timeline extended beyond our event dates, and alternative venues were already booked with competing conferences. Most coordinators would have panicked or begun damage control conversations with disappointed attendees. Instead, I activated relationships built through years of proven reliability. A luxury hotel chain executive, whose daughter's wedding I had coordinated 5 years earlier, offered their ballroom and conference facilities. A convention center manager, whose corporate retreat had exceeded all expectations, provided backup space at cost. An audiovisual company whose CEO remembered my calm professionalism during a previous crisis donated equipment upgrades. Within 48 hours, I had not only solved the venue crisis, but improved the overall event experience. Smaller breakout sessions would be held in intimate hotel settings, while major presentations remained in the renovated convention center with superior acoustics and lighting. Madison called that evening, having heard through industry contacts about the venue complications. I heard there were problems with the summit location. Some of my colleagues are worried the whole event might be canceled or poorly organized now. Do you think they'll be able to fix everything in time? I was sitting at my desk, reviewing the new floor plans that would actually enhance networking opportunities and create more memorable experiences for attendees. I'm sure the coordinators will handle any challenges professionally, I assured her. God, I hope so. My entire career could be affected by how well this conference goes. If the organization is sloppy, or if technical problems interrupt presentations, it could make all the participating companies look bad by association. The weight of her trust was simultaneously heartwarming and heartbreaking. Madison's professional future depended on my expertise. Yet she remained convinced I lacked the capabilities to organize anything more complex than neighborhood barbecues. The final week before the summit, my phone rang constantly with last-minute adjustments, special requests, and coordination details. International delegates needed updated travel information, corporate sponsors required additional security briefings, and media representatives wanted exclusive interview opportunities with keynote speakers. Madison visited during this hectic period, finding me surrounded by multiple phone conversations, computer screens displaying real-time logistics updates, and printed schedules that resembled military operation plans. "Mom, you look overwhelmed," she observed, watching me coordinate catering changes for dietary restrictions I had just discovered among the Japanese delegation. "Just busy with several events happening simultaneously," I replied, ending a call about backup power generators. Her expression softened with what might have been genuine concern. "Maybe you're taking on too much. It's okay to stick with smaller events that are easier to manage. You don't need to prove anything to anyone." The phone rang again before I could respond. My assistant's voice came through the speaker. "Corina, the Secret Service advance team needs to discuss security protocols for the government officials attending tomorrow's opening ceremony." Madison's eyes widened slightly, but she quickly rationalized what she heard. "Secret Service? Mom, are you helping with some political fundraiser that involves local officials?" I took the call privately, spending 20 minutes reviewing threat assessments, evacuation procedures, and communication protocols with federal agents responsible for protecting cabinet-level officials who would be attending the summit's opening ceremonies. When I returned to the living room, Madison was scrolling through her phone. "I should let you get back to your community event planning. I just wanted to stop by and wish you luck with your little projects." That night, I stood in my office, surrounded by the infrastructure of an operation that would determine the success or failure of the technology industry's most important annual gathering. In 12 hours, 3,000 of the world's most influential business leaders would begin arriving for an event that existed because of my vision, planning, and expertise. My daughter, sleeping peacefully in her apartment across town, had no idea that her mother's little projects would soon determine the trajectory of her entire career. Dawn broke over the downtown convention center as I arrived at 5:30 in the morning, 3 hours before the first attendees would begin registration. The loading docks bustled with vendor trucks delivering everything from Japanese floral arrangements to German projection equipment. My operations team of 47 professionals moved with choreographed precision, each person knowing exactly where they needed to be and what they needed to accomplish. The main auditorium had been transformed into something resembling a cross between the United Nations General Assembly and a high-tech showcase. Translation booths for 6 languages lined the upper level. Satellite communication arrays connected us to presenters in London, Tokyo, and Sydney. Security checkpoints, managed by federal agents, created discreet but thorough screening for attendees whose combined net worth exceeded the gross domestic product of most nations. My command center occupied a converted conference room overlooking the main exhibit hall. 8 monitors displayed real-time information about registration flows, security alerts, technical system status, and social media engagement. 24 staff members coordinated everything from transportation logistics for international delegates to dietary accommodations for speakers with complex medical restrictions. Madison arrived at the hotel 6 blocks away at 8:15, checking into her room and preparing for 3 days that could define her career trajectory. She texted me enthusiastic updates about the impressive scale of the event, the caliber of attendees she recognized in the lobby, and her nervous excitement about presenting to potential clients worth billions of dollars. "The organization here is incredible, Mom," she wrote. "Everything is running like clockwork. Whoever coordinated this event is absolutely brilliant. I've never seen anything this sophisticated and well planned." I smiled while reviewing the morning's crisis reports. A keynote speaker's flight had been delayed by weather in Frankfurt, requiring real-time adjustments to the opening ceremony schedule. The Japanese delegation needed additional security screening due to recent international tensions. A major sponsor requested last-minute changes to their booth presentation that affected electrical and audio-visual requirements. Each challenge was resolved smoothly because of contingency plans developed months in advance. Alternative speakers were already briefed and standing by. Security protocols included procedures for international diplomatic complications. Technical specifications had been designed with flexibility for sponsor modifications. By 10 o'clock, registration lines moved efficiently, despite processing nearly 1,000 attendees per hour. Corporate sponsors marveled at the seamless coordination between their exhibits and the conference programming. International media representatives praised the quality of translation services and the accessibility of interview opportunities. Madison's first text from inside the convention center carried palpable awe. "This is unbelievable. The attention to detail, the technology, the smooth operation of everything. I'm genuinely impressed by whoever planned this. They thought of everything." From my command center, I watched security camera feeds, showing her navigate the exhibit hall with colleagues from Technocore. She paused at registration booths, networked confidently with industry leaders, and examined corporate displays with obvious professional admiration. During the lunch break, she called while I was coordinating the afternoon's keynote presentation setup. "Mom, I had to call and tell you about this amazing conference. The level of professional organization is beyond anything I've experienced. Every detail has been anticipated, every contingency planned for. It's making me realize how much goes into coordinating large-scale corporate events." "It sounds like the planners did excellent work," I replied, watching technicians test the satellite connection for a presentation being delivered live from Silicon Valley. I'm actually feeling inspired about event coordination as a career field. Seeing this level of sophistication and strategic thinking makes me understand there's real artistry and intelligence required for complex logistics management. Her words carried the first hint of respect for the industry that had supported our family for 25 years. The profession she had dismissed as unimportant hobby work was finally revealing its true complexity and significance. The afternoon sessions proceeded flawlessly. Panel discussions on artificial intelligence, sustainable technology, and global market trends captured attention from attendees and international media. corporate networking sessions, facilitated partnerships worth millions of dollars. Startup presentations attracted venture capital investment that would fund innovation for years to come. Madison's presentation was scheduled for the following morning, but a technical crisis emerged that threatened the entire second day's programming. The primary audio-visual control system suffered a software malfunction that would prevent proper coordination between main stage presentations and satellite feeds from international locations. My technical director approached with obvious concern. "Karina, we're looking at potentially canceling tomorrow's keynote and possibly rescheduling all the satellite presentations. The backup systems aren't integrated enough to handle the complexity." Most event coordinators would have begun damage control negotiations with disappointed speakers and attendees. Instead, I activated a contingency plan developed specifically for this type of technological failure. Within 2 hours, my team had installed supplementary control systems, rerouted satellite connections through alternative pathways, and tested backup procedures that would actually enhance the presentation quality. Madison never knew how close her presentation had come to cancellation, or that her mother's crisis management skills had saved the professional opportunity she had worked years to achieve. That evening, she called with excitement about the networking reception and her optimism for the next day's presentation. "Everything about this event has been perfect, Mom. I feel so grateful to whoever organized this incredible experience." I fell asleep that night knowing my daughter's career was about to benefit directly from capabilities she didn't believe I possessed. The second day of the Global Innovation Summit began with the technical precision of a space launch and the emotional complexity of a family reunion I never expected. Madison's presentation was scheduled for 10:30, right after the morning keynote that would set the tone for advanced technology discussions throughout the day. From my command center, I monitored her progress through security camera feeds and staff reports. She arrived early, professionally dressed in a navy blue suit that made me proud of the confident woman she had become. Her Technocore colleagues surrounded her with supportive energy as she practiced her presentation one final time in a quiet corridor. The morning keynote proceeded flawlessly. Dr. Sarah Chen from Stanford presented revolutionary research on quantum computing applications, with satellite feeds connecting audience questions to research teams in 4 different countries. The seamless technology integration that made this possible had required months of planning and coordination with international telecommunications providers. At 10:15, Madison approached the staging area near my command center, reviewing her presentation notes with nervous energy. She paused at the registration desk to confirm technical requirements for her audio-visual presentation. "Excuse me," she said to my assistant director, Janet. "I'm Madison Campbell from Technocore Solutions. I'm presenting in 15 minutes and wanted to make sure the microphone and projection systems are ready." Janet smiled with the professional warmth I had trained into every team member. "Of course, Miss Campbell. Everything has been tested and configured according to your submitted specifications. If any technical issues arise during your presentation, we have backup systems ready immediately. Thank you so much. This entire event has been so professionally organized. Could you tell me who coordinated everything? I'd love to send a compliment to your director." My heart stopped as I watched this exchange on the monitor in my command center. Janet's response carried genuine pride. "Our director is Karina Whitfield from Meridian Events. She's been coordinating international conferences for over 20 years. Would you like me to introduce you?" Madison's face went completely blank. She stood motionless for several seconds, processing the familiar name that she couldn't quite place in this professional context. "Karina Whitfield?" she repeated slowly. "Yes, she's in our main command center coordinating all the technical systems. Amazing woman. She's managed everything from pharmaceutical launches to government summits. This is one of her largest projects, but she's handled every detail perfectly. I watched my daughter's expression transform from confusion to dawning recognition to complete shock. Her professional composure cracked as she realized the implications of what she was hearing. Could you take me to her office, please?" Janet led Madison toward my command center while I tried to prepare for a confrontation 25 years in the making. Through the glass walls, I could see Madison approaching, her face pale with disbelief and something that might have been growing understanding. She entered the room as I was coordinating with security about a minor protocol issue with international delegates. 4 monitors displayed real-time logistics information, 2 phones rang simultaneously with vendor updates, and 3 staff members waited for critical decisions about afternoon session arrangements. Madison stood in the doorway, watching me manage multiple complex conversations with calm authority while coordinating solutions to problems she had never imagined existed at corporate events. "Hold on, please," I said into my headset, finally acknowledging her presence. "Madison, what brings you to the operations center?" Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "Mom?" The entire room fell silent as my staff realized they were witnessing a personal moment. I gestured for privacy, and my team discreetly continued their work at lower volumes. "You're the director," Madison said, not as a question but as a statement of fact. She was still trying to accept. "I am. You planned this entire conference." "I did." She looked around the command center, taking in the sophisticated technology, the international communications equipment, the detailed schedules and contingency plans that covered every wall. Her eyes settled on a framed photograph showing me receiving an Industry Achievement Award from the International Association of Event Planners 3 years earlier. "All this time, when you said you did event planning, I was telling you the truth. You just never asked for details." A major crisis chose that moment to test both my professional skills and our family dynamics. Janet approached with urgent information that would have destroyed most coordinators, but represented exactly the kind of challenge I had been preparing for my entire career. "Karina, we have a situation. The London satellite feed just went down completely. Dr. Williams was supposed to present the keynote research on sustainable technology in 20 minutes, live from his Cambridge laboratory. The backup systems aren't connecting either." Madison watched as I calmly assessed the situation, made 3 phone calls to different continents, and implemented a solution that turned potential disaster into enhanced audience experience. "Get Dr. Williams on my personal line immediately," I instructed Janet. "Contact our Berlin office and activate the emergency broadcast studio we prepared for exactly this scenario. Reroute the presentation through our Frankfurt satellite array and patch the feed directly through our backup servers." Within 12 minutes, I had not only restored the connection, but improved the presentation quality by utilizing superior equipment in Germany that provided better resolution and audio clarity than the original London setup. Madison observed this crisis management with growing amazement. She watched me coordinate international telecommunications, manage technical specifications she didn't understand, and maintain calm leadership while solving problems that would have panicked most people. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced through the main auditorium speakers, "Dr. Williams will be presenting in just a few moments from our enhanced satellite connection. The improved technical setup will actually provide better interaction opportunities for your questions." 3,000 attendees applauded what they assumed was a planned enhancement, never knowing they had just witnessed professional crisis management at the highest level. Madison remained silent throughout this entire process, watching her mother command respect from international technical experts, government security officials, and corporate executives whose names she recognized from business magazine covers. "I need to get back to my presentation," she said finally, her voice carrying emotions I couldn't immediately identify. "Madison, wait." She turned back toward me, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "Your presentation is going to be wonderful. You're prepared, professional, and represent your company beautifully. I'm proud of you." She nodded silently and left the command center, walking toward her presentation with a completely different understanding of the mother who had raised her and the industry she had spent years dismissing as unimportant. Madison's presentation that morning exceeded every expectation she had set for herself. From my command center, I watched her deliver a compelling analysis of emerging marketing technologies with confidence and expertise that made me beam with maternal pride. Her Technocore colleagues applauded enthusiastically, and several potential clients approached immediately afterward to schedule follow-up meetings. But I could see the distraction in her posture, the way she kept glancing toward the technical control areas where she now knew her mother was orchestrating every detail of her professional success. The day continued with typical summit intensity. Afternoon panels drew standing room-only crowds. International media conducted interviews that would influence technology policy worldwide, and corporate partnerships formed that would shape industry development for years to come. Every session proceeded flawlessly because of systems and contingencies developed months in advance. Madison didn't call or text during the afternoon sessions. I knew she was processing revelations that challenged 25 years of assumptions about her mother's capabilities and significance. The woman she had dismissed as invisible was proving to be the most visible person at the most important event of her career. That evening, after the final reception concluded and 3,000 attendees had departed for hotels across the city, Madison returned to the convention center. Security led her into the loading dock area, where vendors were beginning breakdown operations under my supervision. She found me coordinating the careful disassembly of international broadcast equipment, ensuring proper packing for return shipment to Germany and Japan. Even event breakdown required precision to protect expensive technology and maintain vendor relationships for future projects. "Mom, can we talk?" she asked quietly. I finished giving instructions to the audio-visual team and followed Madison to a quiet corner of the exhibit hall. The massive space that had buzzed with energy all day now felt like a cathedral in the dim lighting, with only cleaning crews and equipment removal teams continuing their work. We sat on folding chairs that would be stored away within hours, surrounded by the remnants of an event that had succeeded beyond every measure of professional achievement. Madison spoke first, her voice carrying emotions that had been building throughout the day. "I owe you the biggest apology of my life." "You don't owe me anything, sweetheart." "Yes, I do. I've been cruel and dismissive and ignorant about who you really are and what you've accomplished." Tears started flowing freely now. "All these years, I assumed your event planning was small-time hobby work. I was embarrassed about your career. I made condescending comments and never bothered to ask serious questions about your business." I reached for her hand, feeling the complexity of emotions that comes with watching your child finally see you as a complete person rather than just a parent. "I should have told you more about my work," I admitted, "but you seemed uninterested, and I didn't want to appear boastful." "Uninterested?" "Mom, I was worse than uninterested. I was actively dismissive. When Derek visited your office, and you were coordinating international calls, I explained it away as church fundraising. When you offered advice about presenting at conferences, I laughed and said you didn't understand corporate dynamics." She wiped her eyes with tissues I offered from my emergency coordinator kit. Today I watched you manage crises that would have overwhelmed anyone. International telecommunications, government security protocols, corporate logistics worth millions of dollars. You coordinated this entire summit with more skill and professionalism than I've seen in 20 years of corporate experience. The weight of years of misunderstanding settled between us like a bridge that finally connected two sides of a relationship that had been fractured by assumptions and pride. Madison, I need you to understand something important. I never resented your success or felt competitive with your achievements. I was proud of every promotion, every accomplishment, every step forward in your career, but it hurt to feel invisible in your eyes when my own work was meaningful and complex. She nodded, still crying but with growing understanding. I realize now that my embarrassment about your career said nothing about your value and everything about my own insecurities and prejudices. I thought corporate marketing was more prestigious than event coordination, without understanding the expertise and artistry required for what you do. Different careers require different skills, I said gently. Marketing and event coordination complement each other in many ways. That's what makes this even more ironic, Madison continued. I spent today networking with industry leaders who kept praising the exceptional organization of this summit. CEOs from companies I admire told me this was the best coordinated conference they had ever attended. Media representatives said the logistics management was flawless. Government officials commented on the superior security coordination. She paused, looking around the exhibit hall, where her mother had created an environment that advanced her career more than any promotion or professional achievement ever had. Everyone was praising you, Mom. Praising your expertise, your vision, your professional excellence. And I was the only person here who didn't realize that the event coordinator everyone admired was the same woman I had dismissed as unimportant. The conversation was interrupted by Janet approaching with end-of-day reports and client feedback summaries. The response to the summit had exceeded every projection for attendee satisfaction, media coverage, and corporate networking success. Karina, I wanted you to see these preliminary feedback scores, Janet said, handing me a tablet displaying survey results. 97% of attendees rated the organization as exceptional or outstanding. Several companies are already requesting proposals for their own corporate events next year. Madison listened to this professional exchange with new understanding of her mother's reputation and capabilities within an industry she had never bothered to research or respect. After Janet departed, Madison asked the question that had been building throughout our conversation. Mom, how did my success today connect to your work? I mean, beyond just being held at an event you coordinated. I smiled, knowing this revelation would complete her understanding of how invisible labor often supports visible achievement. Madison, your company chose to sponsor this summit and secure premium booth space because of the event's reputation for attracting high-caliber corporate decision-makers. That reputation exists because of consistent professional excellence in event coordination over many years. But there's more, isn't there? Technocore's marketing director specifically requested booth placement near the main stage and prioritized presentation slots because previous Meridian events had delivered exceptional return on investment for corporate sponsors. Your company's entire conference strategy was built on the foundation of event coordination excellence that I've been developing for 2 decades. Madison's eyes widened as she processed this information. So my presentation opportunity, our company's networking success, the business contacts I made today, were all enhanced by professional event coordination that your mother has been perfecting since you were in elementary school. The full-circle nature of our relationship finally became clear to both of us. The daughter, who had been embarrassed by her mother's career, had just achieved professional success that was directly enabled by capabilities she had refused to recognize or value. 6 months after the Global Innovation Summit, I received a call that would reshape both my business and my relationship with Madison in ways neither of us had anticipated. She had been promoted to Senior Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Technocore, largely due to the corporate connections and industry credibility she had gained through that November conference. But the truly remarkable change wasn't in her career trajectory. It was in her newfound understanding of professional excellence that exists outside traditional corporate hierarchies. "Mom, I have a business proposal for you," Madison said during our monthly lunch at her favorite downtown restaurant. These meals had become a treasured tradition since our reconciliation, offering opportunities for conversations that were deeper and more honest than any we had shared during her younger years. Technocore's board of directors wants to establish an exclusive partnership with Meridian Events for all our corporate conferences, product launches, and international business meetings. They were so impressed with the Innovation Summit that they want to ensure access to the same level of professional coordination for our future events. I smiled while reviewing the formal proposal she handed me across the table. The contract represented more annual income than I had earned in my first 5 years of business combined. "But there's another component to this partnership that I personally requested," Madison continued, her voice carrying the professional confidence that had grown significantly since our November confrontation. "I want to learn event coordination from you, not as a hobby or side interest, but as a serious professional development opportunity. I've realized that my marketing expertise, combined with your coordination skills, could create something powerful in the corporate events industry." Over the following months, Madison spent weekends at my home office, learning vendor management, crisis planning, international logistics, and the 1,000 details that transform ordinary gatherings into memorable experiences. She discovered that event coordination required skills she had developed in marketing, plus expertise in areas she had never considered. Budget management for million-dollar conferences involved the same strategic thinking as marketing campaign allocation, but with the added complexity of real-time problem-solving when vendors failed or weather-threatened outdoor events. International corporate relations required cultural sensitivity that enhanced her existing client management abilities. Most importantly, Madison learned to see professional excellence in fields she had previously dismissed as less prestigious than traditional corporate careers. Her respect for my capabilities grew into genuine admiration for an industry that demanded creativity, precision, diplomacy, and leadership skills that few careers could match. Our first joint project came in March, when Technocore requested coordination for their annual shareholders meeting. 400 attendees, including board members, major investors, and financial analysts whose reports could influence stock prices. The stakes were high, but the collaboration between Madison's strategic marketing insights and my operational expertise created an event that exceeded every expectation. Madison handled corporate communications, stakeholder relations, and strategic messaging, while I coordinated venue logistics, vendor management, and technical requirements. The division of responsibilities felt natural, combining our complementary strengths into something more powerful than either of us could have achieved independently. "I understand now why people in the industry speak about you with such respect," Madison told me, after that first collaborative success. "This work requires intelligence, creativity, and leadership that most people never recognize because they only see the final product, not the complex coordination that creates seamless experiences." By summer, Meridian Events had expanded to include Madison as Director of Strategic Development. Our client base grew to include technology companies across the western United States, each seeking the combination of operational excellence and marketing sophistication that our mother-daughter partnership provided. The most meaningful change, however, was in our family dynamics. Madison's embarrassment about my career had been replaced by genuine pride in our shared professional achievements. She introduced me to colleagues as her business partner first and mother second, emphasizing my expertise and industry reputation before acknowledging our family relationship. "My mother is one of the most accomplished event coordinators in the country," she would say at networking functions, with obvious admiration that warmed my heart more than any professional recognition could. Our Thanksgiving dinner that November was held at my house, with Madison helping me host rather than tolerating my presence in her space. The conversation flowed around our recent projects, upcoming conferences, and industry trends that we both understood and found engaging. "Remember last year when I said some people are born to be invisible?" Madison asked, as we cleaned dishes together in my kitchen. "I remember. I was completely wrong. Nobody is born to be invisible. But some people are born to be overlooked by those who don't understand the value of quiet excellence and behind-the-scenes expertise." She paused in her dishwashing to look at me directly. "You were never invisible, Mom. I was just too immature and prejudiced to see your light." As we finished the evening cleanup, Madison shared plans for our most ambitious project yet, an international technology conference that would span 3 cities, connect participants across 4 continents, and require coordination with government agencies in 6 different countries. "Are you ready for our biggest challenge yet?" she asked, with the excitement of someone who had discovered professional passion she never knew existed. "With you as my partner, I'm ready for anything." The woman my daughter once believed was born to be invisible had become the foundation for both our professional futures, and the daughter who had been embarrassed by her mother's career had learned to see professional excellence wherever it existed, regardless of industry stereotypes or social assumptions. True visibility, we both discovered, comes not from recognition or traditional measures of prestige, but from authentic achievement that creates value for others. The most important work often happens behind the scenes, performed by people whose expertise makes other people's success possible. Our story proves that respect and understanding can develop at any stage of family relationships, when people are willing to see past assumptions and appreciate the full complexity of each other's lives. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give someone is simply recognizing their authentic capabilities and acknowledging the professional excellence they have been quietly developing all along. Family relationships, like well-coordinated events, require attention to detail, appreciation for different roles, and understanding that everyone contributes value in their own unique way. The most successful families, like the most successful conferences, happen when everyone feels visible, valued, and respected for their individual expertise. Madison and I learned that careers in service industries are just as complex and valuable as careers in corporate leadership, and that professional partnership between family members can strengthen both business success and personal relationships when built on mutual respect and shared excellence. What started as a painful moment of dismissal and humiliation became the foundation for a business partnership and family relationship stronger than anything we had shared before. Sometimes the most profound transformations begin with our most difficult conversations, when people finally see each other clearly and choose to build something beautiful together. Have you ever experienced a moment when someone finally recognized capabilities they had previously overlooked in you, or when you discovered professional excellence in a field you had underestimated? I'd love to hear your stories about invisible expertise, becoming visible through understanding and respect. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with your own experiences of family relationships and professional recognition, please like and subscribe for more stories about the power of seeing each other's true value. Don't forget to share this with anyone who might benefit from understanding that the most meaningful work often happens behind the scenes, performed by people whose quiet excellence makes everyone else's success possible. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it inspires you to recognize and celebrate the invisible expertise that surrounds us every day.